Hello, everyone. Welcome to our virtual presentation of Geraldine Pooh and her Lunchbox 2. I'm here with author-illustrator Maggie Chang, and we also have New York Times bestselling author Erin Entrada Kelly as our moderator tonight. Before I properly introduce our guests, I have some short announcements. We do have signed copies of Geraldine Pooh and her Lunchbox 2 available for purchase. To receive one, just click on the green purchase button, which will take you to our website. Just add the book to your cart, and before you're completing your purchase, just write signed copy in the order comments. Also, this event includes an audience Q&A. To submit a question, just use the Ask a Question feature at the very bottom of the screen. You can also vote for any questions you'd like, and they'll make their way to the top of the list. And finally, we have a special giveaway for those who are tuning in live tonight. We'll be choosing a winner randomly by the end of the event, so stick around for that. Okay, so let me introduce our speakers, and then we can get started. So Maggie P. Chang began her career in art education, but after teaching the most fabulous and talented teens at LaGuardia Arts High School, aka the Fame School, she was inspired to follow her own passion for children's books. And this Taiwanese American is the author-illustrator of Geraldine Pooh series and is also the co-founder of 2 education nonprofits. And joining Maggie tonight is Erin Entrada Kelly, the author of the 2018 Newbery Medal-winning novel, Hello Universe, the 2021 Newbery honoree, We Dream of Space, and The Land of Forgotten Girls. She's also the author and illustrator of the Maybe Maybe Marisol Rainey series. Yes. Okay, well, virtual applause for our guests, and enjoy the talk, everyone.
Thanks, Mira. Hi, Erin.
Hi, Maggie. I'm so excited to be here.
I know, this is so nice. I felt like we were really good about not talking until just now, and we were just emailing. So everybody who's watching, this is the first time we're actually meeting. It's very exciting.
Yes, it is. And you have a lovely background there with like the bright green tree. That's nice.
Yeah, you as well with all of your many, many awesome books.
And my Star Trek figurines.
Ah, I love it. I love it. Are you at home right now? Is this your...
Yes. So I live in Delaware, and this is the basement where my desk is and where I do a lot of my, stuff. Yeah. Is that where you write? Do you write in that nice sunny space?
So I am one of those people that has a desk set up, and then I work everywhere else.
Yeah.
So I do a little bit here and I do a little bit there. But yeah, sometimes I'm here. Mm-hmm.
I feel that. I mean, sometimes you gotta like sink into a comfy chair or sink into your sofa or even sink into your bed. It just depends. Mm-hmm. Depends on your mood, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So are you going to read for us?
I am. I'm going to read the first chapter. And I know many of you who are here actually received your copy yesterday and you've read. So maybe you can read along. So here we go. Chapter 1. Meet Geraldine Pooh. Her last name rhymes with blue and chew. Geraldine loves her family, her favorite things, and going to school. Bye, Emma. The best part of school for Geraldine is lunch. Yes, curry. She loves the lunches Amma makes. Amma even includes notes. Yellow chicken curry. Love, Amma. Do you know what else Geraldine loves? Me, her lunchbox. She calls him Bientang, said like this. Bientang. She's decorated him with stickers. There's even one that reads, I belong to Geraldine Pooh. That's right, and I have an important job to do. Bientang's job. Carry lunch. Check. Protect lunch. Check. Keep lunch from spilling everywhere. Check. Every day, Geraldine and Bientang take good care of each other. Hey, my food is still warm. Yay, dig in. Squirt. Oops. There, I got it. Everything is great until sniff, sniff. Nico arrives. Ew. Nico is afraid of anything new, even curry. He says things like, "Your lunch is gross." Nico is new to Geraldine's lunch table. Now his new ideas are catching on. "Ooh, gross. Oh, yuck. Yeah, so weird." Geraldine growls. "It's not that weird. It's delicious." But that night, she clutches Byung-tong tight as she asks Mama, "Can you pack me a sandwich for lunch tomorrow?" We're out of bread, but I'll try."
Thank you, Maggie. That was wonderful. I don't know if Maggie froze.
I think Maggie froze.
Well,
Give me
that's
one
okay.
second, folks.
Okay. Should I just keep talking because I have things to say while Maggie's
Yeah, keep talking.
So I absolutely loved Geraldine. She is so sweet. I mean, look at her. And one of the things that I thought was really sweet about this was, first of all, I like that she loves going to school, because I did not love going to school, but I did love lunch. It was my favorite subject. And I'm curious, one of the things that I was curious about when I was reading this, for me, when I was growing up, my mother's Filipino and a first generation. And when you grow up in a house with an immigrant parent or parents, there's a lot of things about your family life or your home that feel very normal, whatever that word means to you, that you don't realize are strange to other people until other people come into your life. Hi, Maggie, you're back.
Yeah, so sorry about that.
That's okay. I was just going on about how much I love Geraldine, and that lunch was also my favorite subject when I was in school. But unlike Geraldine, I did not enjoy going to school. But I like that she does. She's very sweet. She's a very good student. So one of the things I was saying, Maggie, while you were gone briefly, is that, when I was growing up, as my mother's Filipino, so first generation immigrant home. And, when you grow up in a home with an immigrant parent or parents, there are things about your family life that are very normal, whatever that word means. I don't like that word, but you know what I mean, that things that are everyday to you, and you don't realize that they're strange until someone comes over or until you sit next to someone, and like Nico does, they point it out, right? So like with me, my mother ate with her hands, which is very common in the Philippines, and people would say, "Why is your mom eating like that?" All these different kinds of things. So I'm curious if what was kind of like the source inspiration for Geraldine? Was it something like that? Was it your personal experiences? Like what kind of how did this idea seed itself into your creative brain here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I wanted to comment on what you were saying in terms of, at home you do this, and then when you go to school, other people do this. I really, that resonated with me because, we would eat food very similar to what you're seeing in the book, which was Taiwanese food. And I grew up with my ama, and she would do the cooking. And I would then have that experience at home, and then at school, I would have a different experience with my peers. And so you've probably heard the term of straddling the two worlds, being an Asian American. But I thought food was really interesting as this kind of go between the two worlds, because you're bringing something from home into this world, and how do people react to it? And basically Geraldine Poo's setup, it was the inspiration. It was my childhood. And so the inspiration of bringing that to life, but thinking about, what would I wish I had done? So it didn't play out like that for me at all. She definitely is a little bit more self-assured than I was. So I had a lot of fun thinking about what a more confident version of myself would be.
I love that you said that, because I feel like that's true of maybe every book I've ever written. It's almost like aspirational. Like these are the things I wish I could go back and tell young me, but I can't. So maybe I'll tell other young me's of today, like, this is what I wish I should have done, or this is what I could have done. And, you take the feelings of what it's like to be a kid, and then you give your character a little more agency than you feel like you had, or you didn't even know that you had. You know what I mean? So
Totally.
I completely relate to that. So that was kind of like my next question was is Geraldine like a little you? Because I'm also curious about, now Laura Ruby, the author Laura Ruby, she says when people ask her, who do you have most in common with? She says, I am everyone and I am no one. And I love that. So I'm curious, when you were developing Geraldine, not even just her as a character, but how she looks. Because I know when I was drawing like Marisol, I went through all different drafts, like, oh, maybe her hair will look like this, maybe it will look like that. So I'm curious if you could talk about the process of developing her, not just as a character, but visually.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. So I would say that I looked just like Geraldine did for a good chunk of my childhood. I had these bangs, I had that short hair. And to be honest, most of the characters in her family, my ama was this big, tall woman similar to hers, and she had a younger brother. And so I would say maybe I didn't get that creative with the looks. I just plucked them from my real life. But I did start off by having this character named Margaret, which is my real name. So I think that was when I was first starting and just kind of digging into what was actually there. And then at some point I realized I needed to separate and say like, okay, well, this book is clearly not about me and I need to somehow like take it to the next level. And so what are we gonna name this girl? That was the easiest way for me to be like, okay, she's separate from me. And again, this is not that creative, but my brother's name is Jerry, and it's actually Gerard. So I was kind of, again, plucking from my real life as inspiration.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so that's a little fun fact, is the name is actually inspired by my brother.
That is a fun fact. Actually, in Hello Universe, the character's name is Virgil, and it's Virgilio, and my mother's name is Virgilia.
Oh,
so see how we as writers, right? We borrow from different places. And I love, and I love that you said that you felt like you needed to create some distance, because I feel like, I don't know for you, but I know for me when I'm writing, if I'm too close to the character, it becomes hard to write, because I feel like I am the character, if that makes sense. So it's hard to kind of, and I tell students this too when I teach, like, you don't want to write exactly to your life, or exactly, you can use that as an inspiration, but if it's too close, then it's hard to write it, right? Because you're imagining things exactly as they happened.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
And I have to say, one of my favorite, I'm curious if there was a specific panel, because I love these illustrations. I just want to show you, and the readers really good, in the audience at home, my favorite panel. This is my favorite one. I love this. Look at her. Like, I don't want to give anything away, but she's scooting her chair back. I just love her little determined face there.
Yeah.
And the movement. And it's like, as someone who, I illustrated Marisol, but I'm not a trained artist by any stretch of the imagination, but certain movements and certain expressions, right? Maybe it's just me. It could totally just be me, Maggie, because you're an artist, but are more difficult to convey. Oh, shoot. Are difficult to convey. Oh,
this is one of my favorite.
Oh, thank you. Claw.
The claw. Yes. I mean, we're inside that machine.
Marisol loves the claw. Thank you. And you know what?
You are an artist. Please.
I think Marisol and Geraldine would be good friends, because you know what? Geraldine named her lunchbox, and her lunchbox is sentient, and that's what Marisol does. She's named everything in her house.
Yes.
So even the refrigerator.
The tree. Yeah, and
the tree. Yes. So I'm curious, were there panels or pieces of art in this that were particularly challenging, and like, how do you go about tackling those challenges? Or is it just
Ooh, lots of them were challenging. I'll start off by saying that when these books in the series have come to me, I'll see them kind of like a movie. Like, I'll see scenes, and there will be plenty of panels that I already know, like, oh, that's the exact angle, that's exactly what she's saying, that's the exact sound effect, I can hear it. And then it's kind of like filling in the pieces in between when you actually get down to drafting. And I would say probably, so she has her angry outburst here, and everything leading up to it and after it is super important in the scene. So she has this angry outburst, and this actually was one of the scenes that like came to me first. And when I was pitching it to publishers and agents, it was one of the final art pieces that I actually already had done. And it was like an example of like, oh, what this book will look like. And then figuring out though what happens after you do something like throw your beloved lunchbox across the room and it breaks was really complicated. And I think it's because I really wanted to authentically represent emotions of a child. And there's a lot going on. Like at first she's like shocked. She's shocked at what she's done and ashamed. And then she's sad. And then she's feeling a little relieved that she could save her lunchbox. But then there's guilt because
yes, I love that.
Yeah, she ruined her bow and she wasted it. And then she hears her mama, the beautiful woman who made her bow that she just wasted, and she's afraid she's gonna hear and find out. So there's just all sorts of emotions. And for me to break that down and fit it into like 2 spreads for kids, that was really tricky. That was really, really tricky.
That makes total sense to me, yeah.
Yeah, that was probably the most challenging part. Oh, I just happened to flip to the next spread. This was also super challenging. It's the dinner spread. It was probably my favorite spread to do. But I think it was challenging as it would be challenging if you were to like actually cook all of these dishes and put it on the table. I just had to like research all the different ingredients and the colors and actually depict that.
Yes,
So,
and
different types of challenges.
And there's even a super smelly dish with a super silly name, Stinky Tofu. And
That's right.
if I understand correctly, well, first I want to throw a question to the audience. If you could type in the chat, we want to know what your favorite stinky food is. Okay.
Yes.
So think about that. Let us know in the chat. And I think Maggie even has to celebrate because if we were all together, you know, unfortunately we can't all be together in person, but when you celebrate something, right, you want to have food, share food and drink, right? So I think correct. Maggie has some food with her. Would you like to tell us about your food, Maggie?
Yes. So I ordered from a restaurant nearby, a Taiwanese restaurant nearby, some stinky tofu. And I put it in this dish here that has a lid because it's pretty stinky.
Now I have to tell you, Maggie, I've never had stinky tofu. So what does it smell like? Okay, so
it
looks good.
Yeah, I would say that it smells sour and sweet. The stink is not quite like cheese, and it's not quite like. Has anyone ever had durian? Oh, I see durian.
Mentioned that in the chat.
Vanessa, durian. Okay, so durian is kind of like. Oh, and so does Austin. Durian kind of smells like vomit to me. This doesn't smell like that either. I would say it smells sour, like maybe something has gone bad and it's gone a little sour. And there's also like pickled cabbage on top and then this sauce. So different stinky tofu dishes have different sauces. So it'll maybe be sweet or maybe a little bit more on the spicy side. So mine is on the sweeter side. So
that looks good.
It's pretty good. I mean, you guys can't smell it. So that's the thing about the live event is it just looks nice.
And the bowl is lovely.
Yeah, my mom got this for me. So I'm going to take a bite, and I actually haven't tried it from this restaurant. They have, Taiwanese have a range of how stinky it can be. And there's this saying like the stinkier, the better. I don't think this one's very stinky. Just based off of the fact that I can hold it up to my face and my eyebrows are still on my face. Okay, so here we go.
All right, here we go.
Okay. This is interesting for everyone, I hope.
Yeah, it's good. Is it good?
Yeah, it's funky.
Maybe the taste is funky or the taste is funky. Does it taste like it smells?
No. Okay, so that's the thing. It always surprises me. It doesn't taste like it smells. It feels less offensive when you eat it.
Is that true? Like, is that just true for that dish, or is that true stinky tofu, like rule number one? I mean, is that like a rule of
I think that's a rule of stinky tofu. Yeah.
Okay.
That you think it's going to be so much worse than it is, and then you try and you're like, oh, this is really not that bad, and I kind of like the funk. For those who like it, not everybody does, and that's fine.
Now, look, I love this in the chat. Someone says, on a scale of Bruno Mars to James Brown, how funky is it?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
A fair scale, but
Well, I would say this one is probably right in the middle. It's not so bad. It's not so bad. If anyone wants, shout out to the restaurant Class 302. Their stinky tofu is like a good entry level stinky tofu dish if you would like to try.
Nice. That kind of made me hungry. And you know what? Everyone's talking about durian in the chat, and that makes me think of A Wish in the Dark by Christina Soontornvat. If you haven't read it yet, you should. There's a lot of durian in that. I mean, that's not what the book's about. Okay. the fruit features prominently in the book, and it's a very good book. Nice. And we have like kimchi, Spam. Now, Spam, of course, I grew up, since I'm Filipino, eating a lot of Spam. And that was another thing where friends would come over and they'd be like, oh, you're eating Spam, like the Nikos of the world. Right. And what's another thing that was interesting about Nico too is I loved this. Okay, so he told her that he teased her for her lunch being stinky. So then the next day, she's like, okay, I'm going to bring a sandwich or something that's not stinky. And she does, even though it's a special sandwich. But Nico is still, like, she's on his radar now, right? So even though it's not stinky, he's still got something to say about it, which I thought was so interesting, because that's kind of how it happens sometimes, right? Like, you think the problem is solved or whatever, or you're going to not do the thing that people are teasing you about, and then they find something else. I think Maggie froze again. But this is what happens when Geraldine, he still teases her, even though her lunch doesn't stink anymore. He says, what's that? It's a sandwich. It doesn't look like a sandwich. And then she says, it's a special sandwich. Look at her little face. I love her little face there. And then look at Nico. Nico kind of has angry eyebrows. And I love that. Okay, so I love that her grandmother puts notes in her lunchbox. So I don't know if we have parents, I'm sure we have some parents out there listening, or kids who have left notes or had notes left to them in their lunchbox. Because one thing I used to do with my daughter, she's grown now, but in the morning sometimes we would have toast or strudel. I don't know if any one of you, it's like one of my favorite food groups. So with the toaster strudel, you have the icing that you like put on there, and I would like write messages to her in the morning for breakfast. So I would do hearts, or I would say hello, or I would do a smiley face, whatever it may be. You're back.
I'm back. I'm trying a different room.
Yeah, you mentioned. Yeah. I was going to say the tree is gone, but the tree is still there. You've just moved places.
You could just fill in with your imagination. Yes. But hopefully this is better. I'm sitting right next to the router now, so we'll see.
So I was saying, and we'll go to questions in a minute.
I heard you. So
you heard me.
So yeah, okay. Yeah.
I love that. Now, did you get notes in your lunchbox when you were a kid?
I didn't. That would be one of the differences between Geraldine's story and mine, is that I had an ama that didn't speak English. So there was a little bit more of a distance, I think, between the two of us. There was the language barrier along with some of the cultural differences. So I didn't get notes. I think I would have liked to have gotten notes.
Yeah, I think it's nice to get notes and up to a certain point, and then you're just too cool for it, right? Like you don't want notes anymore. Right. I didn't get notes either, but when my daughter was growing up, I would write her little messages on the toaster strudel.
Oh,
I miss those days. Like,
that's so creative.
That's
so creative.
I would draw hearts or smiley faces. So sweet.
Well, I think you're bringing up such a great point, which is that food is a love language, and it can be a love language. And so I was trying to do that with the notes, make it clear that Amma really loves her, and this is how she shows it.
Yes, and it really came across, and I love how she said it's a special sandwich. Yeah. So it's like okay, you can have a sandwich, but it's going to be a special sandwich. It's not going to be the typical Wonder Bread sandwich, right?
Right.
Like Nico has.
I wanted to make a comment about Nico too, because we keep talking about him and just how I have to say he was inspired by my students, and I'm not going to say that there was a specific student that I had. It was more just this idea that even the loud ones that tease others, like there's something going on there. And so for him, the way I introduce him is Nico is afraid of anything new. So if you notice throughout the book, he only wears striped shirts. He eats the same lunch every single day. So his whole thing is he's got issues with things that seem new. And a big theme in the book is being open to trying new things. And so I absolutely am not trying to say Nico needs to eat stinky tofu if he's going to be a respectful little boy. But it's more like it's important to remember to keep an open mind and try new things.
Yes. And I think, and being a former teacher, I'm sure you could agree that sometimes kids say something without even thinking, like Nico's being mean, but sometimes I think you just blurt something out. Well, adults do it too. Totally. And that's another thing, is just to be aware of what you're saying and why you're saying it, right? And then even if you blurt something out that's mean, or even if it's unintentional, you can always correct it, apologize, recognize that you said something mean and fix it, right?
Absolutely.
So that's another thing. But Nico, he's just being a little mean. Okay, so my last question for you before we go to audience questions, because you have a lot of questions. There's a lot of love for you, which is great.
So nice. That's so nice. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm curious what medium this is. It looks like watercolor. Is it watercolor?
Yeah. Okay. So that's great, because that was going to be one of my questions for you as well. I always love asking about the art process. So I did the line art digitally, and so I just have a whole set of pens that are digital. They're the Kyle T brushes for anyone else who's interested in trying those out. And then I have a whole bunch of watercolor washes that I've done by hand. And then I scan the washes in to the computer. Yeah. And so then after they're scanned in, I will play around on the computer with the hand done washes, and I'll layer them, and I'll experiment with how different textures go together, and I'll rearrange splatters. So it takes a little longer maybe than if you were just to do a straight watercolor, but it's a mix of hand and digital.
Oh, so that gives it more depth. There's a certain depth that you get when you do analog or things by hand that you may not get digitally.
Totally, yeah. So, and what about yours? Did you do yours? What I love, first of all, about the illustrations is that they feel like you're almost like your sketchbook, or like a sketchbook. So you can basically feel like you're in her vulnerable little heart with the sketchbook.
Oh, thank you. And it does feel like that, because I just do pen and ink. So, and I used to do it on paper, but then I discovered Procreate. Now I said that, which is, I do it on my iPad digitally. And one of the things that I struggle with, because as I said, I'm not trained, basically this is what I can draw. I can't go out and draw a portrait or something. I struggle with color, which is something that I would love to take a color theory class or something, because I struggle with what colors go together, how to blend colors. These are things that you kind of learn, and I've never learned them. But I feel like the art style, it fits Marisol and the purposes of Marisol, but it's very much just pen and ink. So that's why it feels like a sketchbook, because that is kind of what a sketchbook looks like. Yeah.
That's so lovely. Well, they're so quirky and full of life and add so much to the. Was it fun? Because I know most of your books, or maybe all of the other books that you have, are just words. Yeah, not just words.
Yes.
But
No, I know. Yes.
It's your first time including illustrations of your own.
Yes, because this is my first book for younger elementary readers, and it wasn't fun at first. I'm going to be honest, because I was so self-conscious, as you could probably tell. Like, I was just very self-conscious. But I had so much love and support from illustrators. Artists and illustrators are so supportive, and they just encouraged me, and they were like, don't worry, it's fine. Who cares if you can't draw realistic hands? Just learn how to draw Marisol's hands. It was a, now I'm happy, and now it's fun, but it was, it was harrowing for a bit there. So anyway, but you know what? The harder it is, the prouder you are at the end, right?
Totally. And we're really just creating our babies that we put out into the world, and hope that people love it. And I think people have loved both books so far, which is really exciting. Well,
I know I definitely love Geraldine. She's so sweet.
I loved Marisol. I know. They're both very brave. Yeah, they're both very brave girls in their own way.
They're both quiet, introspective, brave girls. They would definitely hang out. So, okay, so let's go to questions. I don't want to take up too much time because we have so many questions.
Oh, great. Okay.
And we love questions. Vromans, are you coming back to do the questions? Or should I ask the questions?
I can come back on the mic to read the questions if that is more preferable.
Oh, I don't have a preference. I just didn't know if there was a thing. Do you want me to go ahead with the questions?
Yeah, sure. Just click on the Ask a Question button, and all of the questions should be there.
All right, here we go. Okay. I love Crowdcast because it's so easy to use. Okay, what is next?
Ooh, okay.
For Geraldine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, I have a deadline I'm supposed to be meeting today for final sketches for book 2. There's a book 2. It's always fun how when one thing launches, I feel like actors and actresses do this too. They go to a movie premiere for something that they worked on like a year ago, and they're already working on something else. So yeah, Geraldine is a series, and in book 2, the main theme is hair. So you'll see a lot of the different themes are about identity. So first one is food, and second one is hair. And there's a belonging in each book that is her sidekick. And this one is a cat hat. So, yeah.
Hair. I love that. Because, you know, when I was growing up, I was very self-conscious. I hated my hair because I had coarse, dry, big Filipino hair. I just didn't like it. And then nobody was using straighteners then. I don't know if they hadn't been invented.
They were doing perms.
I tried to perm my hair. It was awful. We won't talk about it.
I had many perms.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. Who is your favorite character to draw? Oh, I love that question. Was it Geraldine? I mean, you would assume it's Geraldine, but maybe it's not.
I did enjoy drawing Geraldine because her bangs actually were pretty fun to draw.
Well, bangs are fabulous.
Yeah, they really are. But there are these like square things that are messy, and I would say it's a tie between her and then honestly, Nico was really fun to draw. I think I heard you say angry eyebrows. He's just so animated, and he's just so big.
He's very animated.
Yeah. So he was actually pretty fun to bring to life.
I just realized that, Geraldine and Marisol almost have this. I mean, Marisol's hair's a little longer because she wears pigtails, but they both have bangs.
That's right.
Marisol always wears her pigtails. So they have some similarities there too.
They would totally be buds.
Which were the books you read over and over as a kid? That's a good one.
Okay. I would say when I was reading early readers, so the same category as Geraldine, it would be the Amelia Bedelia books. I just thought they were so funny. I was like, Amelia Bedelia, there she goes again.
Oh, they are funny. Yes.
They are. And actually, I would read them with my family. So idioms don't necessarily translate into other languages. So it was really, really fun to read with like my mom, and she still references them, the different idioms in the book and the things that Amelia Bedelia got wrong.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Classic. I loved Sweet Pickles. Does anyone out there remember Sweet Pickles? It was from the 80s. It was like a subscription. They would send you a book every month, and I loved Sweet Pickles, and I loved Judy Blume, of course. Judy Blume is my hero.
Absolutely.
Yes. So here's a good one. Did you decide on the reading level before you started, or did it emerge from the story? And how would your creative process be different for other ages? That's a really smart question.
Yeah, who put in that one? That's a really good one.
Really smart person named
really
Hatch Harrison.
I don't know Kimberly, but I see her in the chat. She's really active. I would like to meet you, Kimberly. So actually, the answer is no. I didn't know if it was going to be a picture book. I didn't know if it was going to be an early reader. At one point, there was like toying even with the idea of it being middle grade. Like when we had pitched it to publishers, there was a question of if we could take all the stories in the series and make it middle grade. Anyhow, I think because there's something pretty novel happening, the fact that it's a graphic novel, it made it tricky. So Simon & Schuster is doing something really, really exciting, which is coming out with this whole graphics series and making them early readers. So I'm sure there are plenty of people who know middle schoolers out there who are obsessed with graphic novels, and maybe they have younger siblings who wish they could also be cool and read graphic novels. So this is kind of what is the perfect entry level for them, but they don't quite exist yet. So, Simon & Schuster just came out with this line, and I think trying to pioneer something like this is what made it so tricky. Because, what do you do when you don't see anything else like it out there?
But I'm glad you mentioned that, Maggie, because one thing I loved about this is it tells you how to read them, which I think is so cool. It shows you, okay, the thought bubble is thinking, the pointy one is talking. I think this is so great because graphic novels are only going to become more popular, and they should absolutely be embraced, just like any other form of literature, right? Especially if kids want to read them. I think we both agree that kids should be able to read what they want to read. And if they want to read just graphic novels, they should be able to read just graphic novels because they're just as valid as any other form of literature, right? Okay, so here's a food related one, which feels very apropos, right?
Great, let's go.
What was you ready? You ready to talk about food? Okay, what was your favorite food growing up, and what's your favorite food now?
Okay.
I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite food, right?
Yeah.
Good foods.
Well, I'll narrow it down by picking from what is featured in the book. So I think growing up, dumplings were my favorite, but I don't know if it was because I got to make them with my grandma growing up. And so like when you make something, you love it even that much more. It's so rewarding to wrap them and then actually eat them, something that you wrapped. And the sad thing now is though that I have a gluten intolerance now as an adult. I know. So I can't eat dumplings. I can't eat the baos unless they're made gluten-free.
That is such a bummer. Okay, Maggie froze again. She might still be able to hear me. But I'm also curious, like, if there's anything on this table that she doesn't like, or if she just like did a shout out to her favorite foods on here. So some of my favorite Filipino foods, you guys, is lumpia, which if you haven't had lumpia, oh my gosh, so good. Filipino egg rolls. Have you ever had lumpia, Maggie?
I haven't. No, but I read about it in your book.
Oh, it's so good. You need to get it from the Filipino restaurant that's near you.
Yes, I do. Gotta go there. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. You'll eat like 50 of them. I'm just warning you right now.
Okay.
They're small, but they're addictive.
I can eat a lot. I'll try to make you proud.
Yes. Let me know what happens. Let me know what you think. They're delicious. Once you start eating them, you can't stop. They're small, so you feel like you're just snacking. But then next thing you know, you've eaten like 100 of them. Okay, not really 100. I mean, somebody could probably eat 100 of them. But so let's see. Oh, here's one I wanted to talk about too. Another one is, can you talk about why and how you started to create children's books? And I'm curious if like, was it, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but was it like representation issues? Did you think about all these things? Like, little Maggies out there and wanting to write a book for them, or what kind of was your motivation?
Gosh, yeah, it was a lot of things. I'll start off by saying that when I was a kid, I always wanted to be an author. Like, if you know, when you ask a kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to make books. So that was really my dream up until maybe middle school or high school, when it felt like, oh, okay, well, maybe you can't make a living with that, so let's get that out of your head and try something else. And then when I started teaching specifically a class, children's book illustration at LaGuardia, my love for it just, got opened up again, and it just became my obsession. And absolutely, you're right that the Asian representation element was a big part of it. And so I would go to the library and the bookstore and research for my class and try to bring in books, and was just shocked. I was shocked at how few Asian American characters were in these books. And so I said, let me make one. and it took a few years. I don't know if it was because the industry needed to really get there. I know in the last few years there's been a really big push for more diverse stories, or what, but it seems to have lined up at just the right time for the Asian AAPI community at large.
Yes,
yeah,
it's always the right time, right? So I see some shout outs to your illustration class, and I'm curious now you pique my curiosity, because what an amazing class that would have been to take. So who are some of your favorite illustrators? Now I'm going to throw that question at you, because you taught illustration, right?
Yeah.
So do you have some either favorite illustrators or favorite illustrations or favorite illustrated books? I mean, I just threw 3 questions your way.
Yeah. Sure. So I'll say one of the best things about children's books is like what we were talking about. Like, you don't need to be able to draw super realistically. You don't need to have amazing fine art skills. You really are a storyteller with illustrations, and you have to capture the emotion. So I would say my favorite illustrators are ones that are illustrating graphic novels. So gosh, even like Baby Mouse, for example. Baby Mouse feels like doodles, right? But she's able to capture such personality in just doodles. And speaking of color, it's black and white with just a little bit of pink. And I love anything by Raina, of course. Of course. Yeah, so expressive. And then I would say some of the classics. The first graphic novel I ever read and discovered the format was Art Spiegelman, who illustrated and wrote Mouse, where it's about Holocaust survivors, and all of the Jews are mice, and the Germans are cats, and the Poles, I think, are pigs. But anyway, I think the illustrators that are able to capture emotion and clever storytelling with their illustrations are what really captivate me.
Yes, totally agree. Definitely. And so, since we're on the topic of illustration, did you know, one of the questions is, what was your favorite part of the illustration process for Geraldine? And I kind of want to latch onto that question, and also ask, did you know what kind of art, did you see it in your head, or did you try, okay, I'm going to try black and white, or I'm going to try this, or how did it come to be, and what was your favorite part of that process?
Ooh, yeah. Okay, so when Geraldine was Margaret, I did try black and white, and it felt sad, and it felt like the wrong mood, different mood. And I knew that Geraldine was a happy girl who deep down was happy with herself, even though she gets a little rattled. And so I wanted a cheery, bright color palette. And that's where you see the saturated color. And then my favorite part of illustrating, I will say I don't like the line art phase because you gotta kind of get it exact, and that's when you need to do your research and make sure that things feel accurate. I would say the coloring probably is because you really get to infuse it. So Erin, you and I will talk later. I can talk to you about coloring.
Yes,
I also think it's very
fascinating.
soothing. Yeah, coloring can be very soothing once you like have things blocked out. So I kind of go with simple, just like blocks of color, and then figure out what feels balanced, and then I'll go in and actually do the real coloring. But that part is like, it's like a coloring book. It's very soothing, and it's the final step in my process. So it's kind of like the ta-da, it's alive, it's done moment.
Yes, that makes total sense. And I find it so interesting because, like you said, the black and white felt sad. It's just so fascinating to me how colors evoke a mood, obviously. We're about to paint our house and I'm like, what kind of paint colors do I, you know what I mean? It's really stressing me out. And then I thought, oh, I want yellow. I want a yellow room. And then I go to the like store and there's like 5 zillion yellows. And I think, oh my gosh, I didn't think that there were that many shades of yellow of colors. But it's very overwhelming. So maybe we'll have to just like discuss offline at some point.
Yes.
Color and what to do about the color. Because I'm sure you wanted it to be like not too bright but not too muted. But I mean, anyway, it's a lot of balance, right?
It is. So, yes, that's the key word.
Balance. Yes. So I am so thrilled that Geraldine is out in the world. She is just the most precious, like one of the things that I love about reading children's books, and especially children's books with illustrations, whether they're picture books or an early graphic novel like this, is that if you're an adult and you're reading it, it reminds you what it's like to be a kid. And that's one of the things I love about picture books too. Like, I don't know if you have this experience or if your students have this experience where you read a picture book and you almost want to cry and you don't even know why, but it's just like the nostalgia of feeling young, So one of the things I teach in an MFA program, and when I'm teaching writing for children, I usually like to start with picture books because it kind of gets you in that mindset of what it's like to be young. And I felt like Geraldine did that so well with the illustrations and just the story. And it just, it was like comfort food. Geraldine's like comfort food.
You're going to make me cry. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Erin.
I'm so excited that this is first I'm not surprised. I figured it would be first in the series, but I'm just thrilled to see where Geraldine will go next and go on all these adventures with her. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but does the next one have a release date yet, or we're not?
It does. It comes out in January of next year. So soon. Yeah. And then there's a book 3 as well. And that will come out also next year.
Oh, see, Marisol and Geraldine are like sisters because Marisol's next book comes out next year too.
Oh, no way.
In May.
Oh,
and then the third
awesome.
one comes out the year after. She's in a trio and Geraldine's in a trio.
Oh, I'm so excited.
They're both having books coming out at the same time. Well, not the same time, but one book a year, right, for now. So that's really exciting. So thank you, Maggie. It was such an honor to welcome you and Geraldine into the world. Well, you've been in the world for a while, but into the author space and Geraldine into the book space.
The pleasure was all mine. You're such a legend, and I am making my debut with you, the one and only. And so I thank you for making it so extra special. I'm so grateful.
Thank you. And thank you to Vromans as well.
I know.
Speaking of legends.
Exactly. Honestly, with this pandemic, the fact that we're even like still making things and putting them out there in the world, and that books are here and that we care about them and that we're able to connect through them. It's wonderful. We gotta keep going and we gotta keep trying.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And right. I think we probably are up for the raffle.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have 2 ways of doing this. One is me just going through who is online right now and randomly picking a name, or we can do like a little reading comprehension test. Because you read like the first chapter earlier, and I have a trivia question, and whoever gets it right first I'm not sure if that will be too hard for the audience.
Rira, could we possibly do both? Because I think we can do 2 prizes, right?
That's
And
right.
graciously offered to do a book. And then the prize that I'm throwing in is a copy of a sketch from the book.
Okay.
So
all right. Well, I will give out the trivia question first. So it'll give people time to answer. Whoever answers it first correctly will be the winner. So what name does Geraldine call her lunchbox?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
That was in the reading earlier. And I'm just going to go ahead and randomly pick someone who is online. So let's see.
Come on, guys. Who knows the answer?
Oh, Connor and Jaden. Congratulations. Okay.
Lots of people know.
First person who got it was Connor and Jaden. So congratulations.
Aww.
All right. So I'm going to just pick a random name here. Is Ali here? A-L-I? If you're here, just say, write something in the comments.
A-L-I, Ali.
A-L-I, Ali. It says that you're online. Okay.
Yay!
All right. So I will contact the winners after the broadcast ends because you all registered. So I have your contact information. But yeah, thank you so much, Maggie and Erin. This was such a fun, lovely talk. And thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight and shared your favorite stinky food. That was such a fun part of the talk as well. Again, we have signed copies available. Just make sure to write signed copy in the order comments when you are checking out your cart. And a replay of this talk will be available shortly after the broadcast ends. So for those of you who tuned in late, you'll be able to watch it from the very beginning. All right, I think that about covers it. Thank you so much again, everyone, and have a good night.
This was so fun. Thanks for coming to the party. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
I'm going to go finish that stinky tofu now.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
the whole plate.